Is the pie team slowly rugging us? This is the question that we're at least going to try to answer and maybe just discuss a little bit more about today. We've seen some concerning allegations, I guess, to say the least, but that's all it is, right? Is it's just allegations, and you know how this goes in crypto. If you've been around for a little bit of time, you never really know for certain what is actually the reality, just because people are always throwing allegations around for coins they don't like because various different reasons. But there are certain things here that could potentially warrant asking some other questions. We also have seen some things from the Pi team in the past that are a little bit suspect. I don't think we've seen anything outright questionable. It starts to become the case where there's like an accumulation of enough things where it starts to waver a little bit of faith in the project overall. And so I did just want to discuss that a little bit. Of course, I don't really have too strong of an opinion here. These types of things in crypto are very, very difficult. The like fraudulent types of things that go on are almost impossible to detect, and you really don't see it until it's already too late. See things like Celsius or Terra Luna, or even more recently the Ohm collapse, all that type of stuff. That just kind of happened out of nowhere. So there's not really a whole lot that you can do to predict it, but I did just want to talk a little bit more about it today, just so you can make an informed decision. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this, I've sold all of my pie or anything like that. I've never actually held too much pie as like a long-term holder, but I have done a fair bit of trading both in and out of pie, just trying to kind of play the pumps and I guess sell the pumps and buy the dumps. Obviously, that's what everybody likes to do within crypto. So that is what I have been trying to achieve at this point. But I want to go in and talk a little bit about just kind of what we've seen out of the pie chart and why some of these allegations have been getting thrown around, because we have seen some pretty ridiculous moves out of the pie token. So I want to discuss that a little bit as well. So let's go on ahead and we'll start out taking a look at the pie chart. And if we go on ahead, we'll actually move this to full screen and we can see I think it should be pretty clear probably what we're going to be discussing here, and it is this essentially insane, almost vertical pump, and then an extreme dump coming from here. We'll go into the specifics about what is being alleged or accused of here, but essentially kind of the TLDR is that people are accusing that the Pi team actually kind of manufactured this artificial pump to get people all excited, and then they were starting to dump their coins up at the top here while retail was buying. Obviously not a great look here, but we can see this is a very, very standard type of chart to trade. We talk about this all the time. Again, this is daily. We can see here way outside of the Bollinger Bands, as well as being way outside of the overbought signal for the RSI. This is always a really kind of quality time to short. We've seen this many times in the past. We've seen it be successful many times in the past. So this is something, if I was not traveling or asleep at the wheel here for this pie run, I probably would have also been shorting this as well. Pie is one, honestly, that we've actually seen some pretty decent trades. I have missed both just because I haven't really been able to be just kind of sitting and looking at the chart constantly. But as we can see, I think it's pretty clear to see exactly what went on here. We saw a really, really strong pump and then a really, really strong dump almost immediately following. And so not always the greatest thing to see here. The other thing, though, I will say is kind of the silver lining is we are seeing higher lows, at least for right now. We are seeing higher lows come in than what we saw actually is the highs before. So we can see here that the like peak low was about this range, and we can see prior to this point it was actually still a little bit higher, and we can see that this is a decent level of support. It was actually functioning as a decent level of resistance kind of back in the like early to mid-April time frame. So this is, I would say, a good thing, that even though we did potentially see a little bit of some manipulation going on here, again, we don't actually know for sure. This is just alleged manipulation. But even though we did, potentially see some of that with this type of chart, it's hard to argue that it wasn't. But we can see, higher lows here for sure, which is good. So we'll have to see kind of what happens from going on from here on out. We can see currently right about in the middle of the Bollinger Band, so nothing too impressive or too important going on there. And then we also can see basically the same thing with the RSI about right here sitting in the middle. So basically what we're seeing out of the pie chart is decent, not terrible, not great, just kind of overall a decently looking chart. If you are interested in trading Pi through BTCC or any other exchange for that matter, I do have a couple others in the exchange in the links below. BTCC is one that has been really, really great to work with. They are doing those 10% bonuses on first time deposits, which is a really, really good deal. They also do have up to the $10,055 deposit bonuses. You can see I have been trading here on BTCC. Really, really doing quite well recently. We've got XRP up over 233%, SUI up over 100% at this point, and then Ondo up close to 20%. And then we do have Bitcoin on a 4x long up at 40%. This is a much larger position as well, so you can see definitely made a decent bit more on this Bitcoin trade than we have any of the others. If you are interested in making any of these trades, feel free just to sign up in those links in the description below. And you will get that guaranteed first-time deposit bonus, as well as all of the other $10,055 of deposit bonuses and trading bonuses, all that type of stuff. So if you are interested, just check the links in the description below. And then I do also have those links to Phemex and WEEX if you are looking for some alternative options as well. So anyway, moving along, I want to go into some of the news that we've seen today and kind of discussing what is exactly is going on here. Now, Atlas has this whole major long thread post you can see here. I've kind of picked out the key piece here that kind of is like the source of kind of the main controversy here. We can see here a respected community figure, Dr. Picoin, exposed to 12 million Pi token transfer linked to the Pi core team. He claims that insiders intentionally pumped the price to dump tokens on retail at the top. And then you can see here a quote, "They sold while you were distracted by hype and announcements," he wrote. And then blockchain data backs his claims, and then the panic quickly spread, which is kind of what led to that further dump, I would imagine here. We can see here this was from an article, and then we can see the screenshot itself here. So definitely, people are claiming this. Dr. Picoin, I would imagine, fairly involved with the Pi community and things like that. So we're seeing some of those types of things. And then they go along further to kind of actually prove the blockchain data and all this type of stuff. You can see this is from the Pi Foundation too. And then there's a whole bunch of other things going on here. So a lot of this is kind of circumstantial, and we don't actually know for certain what is going on here. So I'm not trying to say at this point that like this is for sure happening, or we are being slow rugged or anything like that from the Pi network. I just want to bring this to your attention. I do think that anybody who's trying to be a prudent investor or follower of the Pi network probably should have this stuff brought to their attention, and then they of course can form their own conclusion and decide what they think makes the most sense. Just kind of give them the information they were able to ascertain. So overall, I would say this is a decent thread to kind of read through, see if that's something that you find interesting. As I mentioned, Crypto Atlas did actually post this on X, so you can go find it there. But overall, you can see it's a very, very long and comprehensive type of process, or a type of description that they go through and kind of give a pretty clear and overall detailed explanation into the potential questionable actions going on here from the Pi core team. So again, this is all allegations, this is all speculation, at least as far as I'm able to see. But we could see that if this is actually the case, could potentially be some concerning information, which is why I figured we should just kind of talk about this in a little bit more detail for you to check it out. Now, the other thing we can see here is we can see that actually 14 million Pi coins were moved from an exchange to a Pi wallet. So it does look like there are potentially some other whales stacking up and kind of buying the dip on this recent pullback that we have seen from the Pi token. So as we could see, if we go just take a quick look back at the chart, obviously we saw that Pi definitely has the ability to make a crazy run at any point in time. Now again, if this pump was manipulated and kind of faked, that makes it look a little bit less interesting, right? But if it wasn't, we can see that Pi still has that explosive capability without a doubt. But then we also saw a pretty sizable dump following that, and we have rested on a pretty key level of support. And so what we can see kind of from like a risk reward perspective, if we were to take let me see if I can find the right button here, but if we could take a long here potentially. Again, this is not financial advice, you of course need to make your own decision, but we could potentially take a long here. And I'm just trying to kind of give some rationalization for what this whale may be doing. But you could see here maybe if you're looking to play it really, really conservative, you go down here to this range and put a stop loss up here, and then you could even go all the way up into these previous highs, and then you're looking at like a 4.5 to 1 risk to reward ratio. So again, if you're looking to do kind of like a super macro trade, that would be something you could consider. If you're looking to do even kind of more of a micro trade, you could go kind of just below this stop loss here, and then you could even just look back towards maybe a little bit more attainable or an achievable goal here in the short term. Again, 4 to 1. Again, if you're looking to do kind of just like the standard like risk to reward trading, and you're looking for like a classic 2 to 1, you could see maybe getting towards the very top of these couple of candles or these couple of wicks here. So maybe a little bit less likely that we actually get above these, but again, this is a much more reasonable kind of short-term trade to take care of. So again, this is me just kind of trying to rationalize what some of these whales might actually be angling for when we see a massive move like this. But again, we have to be very, very careful. If we are seeing these types of manipulated moves happening, it could continue happening as well, right? So just make sure that you're being careful. You're not kind of falling into any traps that the smart money or insiders or anything like that is laying. That would be a pretty bad mistake to make, particularly when we can see some of this stuff actually happening on chain. And so until we get a sufficient response from the Pi core team, maybe it's one of those things to just tread lightly. Now, again, of course, as I've mentioned several times, I'm not trying to spread FUD here. I'm not trying to, hurl allegations or anything like that. I'm just trying to present the information that is going around within the Pi network or within the Pi community. I think it is your right to know, and then you, of course, can kind of make your own decision from there. I personally am just kind of looking to wait and see how this kind of plays out. I may look to take a little bit of a Pi long, depending on kind of how some of this stuff shakes out. We have seen it bounce a little bit, and so I do think potentially taking a little bit of a Pi long and looking to kind of ride that potential wave, that next wave back up, could be something that would be worthwhile. So that's at least what I'm looking at. Of course, you do need to make your own decisions and all that type of good stuff, not financial advice, yada yada yada. But overall, I would say if you did find the information in this video useful, please do give me a like and a subscribe. It really, really does help me out. And also, if you have any comments, thoughts, feelings, whatever, just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those, though I have been a little bit slow recently. Still looking to get back on those. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.